The whole Liam Kumar Day effect, not really happening.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I rang up Mendenhall, he said he could make it.
Don't dig this hole. Phil, credit to the guy, he always manages to do well what he has, but he is a shocking person on that. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-vim.
No, my life from Rashad Mendenhall.
Right, you go. I'm a tag, Jack! I'm a fucking tag!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the LOC Report, the last of the year 2022, but will not be the last of the 2022 season. We'll have one more episode for you next week, which will be the Corona Bowl recap, but we are getting ahead of ourselves there, people, because we have Corona Bowl 14 happening tomorrow this week. Obviously, we've got to take a look back at what happened in the semi-finals in week 16 there. We've also got some LOC Awards to distribute. We announced the nominees last week, and the committee has discussed it and decided who shall win each award. So we've got all that for you to come today. So I will not slow you down any further. We will go straight into the semi-final matchup. So before we go into though, hope you all had a very nice Christmas and you've had a nice festive period. And obviously, hopefully you have some good plans for New Year's tonight as well. And up for that though, because we're going straight into the recaps now. We'll start off with the marquee matchup of the two games that we had in the semi-finals last week, which did feature bucking the trend against Iksan, and we also had Gridang against Pakistan. So we'll start with the marquee matchup. Regular season winning Iksan, coming off the bye, took on the wildcard bowl winner and the wildcard traditional wildcard team that is in bucking the trend here in week 16 in the first of our two semi-finals. The first seed against the fourth seed in the league. It proved to be a good matchup on paper, and it did deliver. Not the best scoring week, but there was a lot of adverse weather last week that kind of conspired to do that. Iksan did take it though in 94-81. I believe that is the third game this season. I will just double check that these two have played each other, and Iksan comes on top once again. Let's just double check that. Yep, Iksan won the first. Yes, he won all three matchups against Mike this year. So Ben has been a bugbear team for Mike this year. You can see by the chart there that staged a bit of a comeback, fell away, would have probably been a defensive score, and then just couldn't come back on it near the end. So yeah, 94-81 the final score. Looking down the lineups, Patrick Mahomes got 28 points for Ben. He also got 10 points from Jarrett McKinnon, 18 points from James Conner, 12 points from Christian McCaffrey, and you can see some pretty solid special team score, 9 apiece at the bottom there to get to that 94. On the other side of the board for Mike, it's a tale of what potentially could have been. Keenan Allen got 10 points on Monday Night Football, not enough to stage the comeback. Saquon Barkley got 19, he had a good day. Brett Mayer with 18 points, coming up big for Mike. But really, it was Tua Tagovailoa was the story of this game. The debate going last week was would weather impact a game? It wouldn't, or make a game-change result, but injury sure did. Tua Tagovailoa only 10 points here. He obviously started out hot and suffered that concussion at some point in the game through interceptions, had a terrible second half, and that is unfortunately what costs Mike here. So Ben moves on. Mike is unfortunately departing us in the history of this matchup all time. Iksan is now 6-1 all time against Mike's team. Apologies for my slightly croaky voice. You may have heard if you watched the semi-finals preview show just before Christmas. My voice was a bit croaky then. I did have laryngitis over Christmas, which wasn't great. My voice is just about come back, so it's probably going to go again from doing this, but we'll muddle on through. So yeah, let's take a look down then. So yeah, for Ben, yeah, another good day at the office for his team. We know what this team is. Rock solid floor all season long. Patrick Mahomes leading that off quite nicely with the 28 points. Murray Cooper, I was very skeptical about Ben playing Murray Cooper with the weather last week. It's not a performance that will let you down. 7 points. It's not a great day at the office, but obviously it doesn't matter here. It just contributes to the team for Ben. KJ Osborne as well, another one I was really skeptical of. Ben got away with that one too. He got the 2 points, but it was the core of this team, which I said would be important for Ben. I did lock Mike in this game, so sorry Mike. Gave you the kiss of death there. It was looking good. We'll come on to what happened with Mike in a second. But finishing off with Ben. Jarrett McKinnon, not a lot of yards on the day, but gets yet another touchdown. He's had a great month. getting the 10 points there. James Conner, despite playing with Trace McSorley against a fairly good Bucks Rundy, still gets 18 points. He was the workhorse in this game. No question. Ben should have stuck with him. It was a great decision. And Christian McCaffrey as well, 12 points is there, just ticking it over as well. And the special teams, cannot overlook the special teams here. Mike did actually outscore on the special teams, but 9 apiece from Justin Tucker and the Ravens defense. Obviously, it all contributes. This is Ben's team. It's a balanced team. He's going to go for the overall basket, and that's how he gets his points week in, week out. And it absolutely works, and he comes up with the win here. Looking to the bench, you can see he was dealing with a number of injuries, so couldn't have got anything more out of the team, really. So good job by Ben all around. We go to Mike's side of the board. Yeah, we'll start off the top. Just so unfortunate for Mike. Tua Tagovailoa. Probably not the first time he's cost him this season, certainly not, even by injury. He played the entire game. He was playing really well in that first half there, but then the second half just all fell away, made some really strange decisions, was not playing well, and unfortunately as it transpires, he did suffer his third concussion of the season, and that was definitely, in hindsight, it's what cost the Dolphins for sure in this game, and also Mike as well, only coming up with 10 points. If he doesn't suffer that concussion, does Tua Tagovailoa get you another 14 points? I think he absolutely does. You take those interceptions off the board, that's 6 points right there, and then he would have produced enough, I think, to win this game. So it's a bitterly disappointing end here, unfortunate for Mike. It would have been good measure for the final. It is what it is, sadly. Keenan Allen, he got 10 points coming through, finally healthy for bucking the for Mike's team. Emerald St. Brown, not the best of days, 8 points, which with how pass heavy the Lions were, because they were losing all day long against the Panthers. Quite surprising, but again, it's not a result that's going to kill you. Barkley coming up big with the 19 points. He's obviously been a great player for bucking the trend. Had been quieter of late, but obviously came up here for him. Josh Jacobs, that will be one of the ones again that Mike will be looking to and being really disappointed with. It was I spoke about we'll come to Pat Seaman in a bit, but cold weather Carr not being good. Obviously this performance did effectively cost Derek Carr's job. He's been benched for the rest of the season. Josh Jacobs, it's surprising he only got 50 yards on the day, but their offense after that first drive really did absolutely nothing in that game. So again, just unfortunate. Jacobs has been such a big part of what Mike's done all season long. So unfortunate there. But then we will get to something Mike did have within his control. He decided to play DeAndre Swift in this one. If we look to the bench, he didn't have a great deal to choose from. He had Thielen, Jones, in fact all were available. Goodwin was an organic 0 points. He got injured in the game and came back. And there's only one guy there, obviously, that would have got the points, more points than Swift, and one that would have changed the result. And to be honest, I think I would have played him. George Kittle, it's going to be brutally disappointing for Mike. DeAndre Swift has been a thorn in his side all season long, really, because the workload's just been so inconsistent. On paper, this was a game that the Lions should have probably won. It should, or at least should have been competitive in, but obviously the game flow didn't allow Swift to get that involved, really. He didn't do a lot on the day. I'm not going to drill Mike too much for it, because it's out of the two. I mean, he probably goes to Christian Watson in hindsight over Swift, and then it's probably Kittle after that, so I can't be too critical. But with Brock Purdy, since Deebo Samuel has been out, George Kittle has looked good. He came through with a big day there again, so again, it's just unfortunate for Mike. A few things really just tripped him up here. But DeAndre Swift obviously had a poor day, letting him down right when it mattered. Special teams, you can't complain. Brett Maher, absolutely fantastic score with 18 points there, and then the Buccaneers defense chipping in the 8 as well. So sad end to the season for Mike. We'll come back to Mike's entire season once we get to the news section, put a neat little bow on that. But obviously Ben moves on. We'll go to the other semi-final now, which featured Gridiron against Pakistan. The two division winners, the Portsmouth division winner, Gridiron Gang, taking on the Winchester division winner in Pakistan. Both coming off the bye, both facing off each other. Gridiron Gang took the first of the series. That was the Joe Mixon blow-up game, if you remember. It was a quite high-scoring game all around, though. And Gridiron Gang moves on here to the tune of 99 to 79 points. So Pakistan, unfortunately, going home as well, but Gridiron Gang going on to Korea about 14 to face Ben and Iksan. Let's take a look down the lineup. So for Gridiron Gang, Josh Allen got 26 points in a very weather-affected Chicago game, so he did well to get to that. His passing was quite erratic, but ended up with 3 touchdowns on the day to get that 26. Travis Kelce got 11, Terry McLaurin got 14, Joe Mixon 11, Kenneth Walker 11, Rashad White 11, Graham Gano 14, and the Broncos D 1 point. We'll come back to that in a bit, but the 99 points is a good team score. It really was a team score. You can see nearly all players in double digits, low double digits, apart from Josh Allen low. We go to the other side of the board, Pakistan, and we'll start off with the good bits. Jefferson, he got your 19. Ezekiel, he came through with 12. Devontae Smith blown out with 23. But it was really the players that let Pakistan down, which is the story of this game. It was winnable with those performances, but Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson and Justin Herbert all combining for less than 10 points. Wilson 1 point, Adams 1.5 and Herbert 5.5 in the Monday night game. It's a bitterly disappointing end here for Pakistan as well, that some of these guys really letting him down when it mattered. Unfortunate for Pat. The special teams came through okay. Young Waiku got 9 and the Browns got 7. The history of this match up all time. Gridiron Gang is now 9-2 all time against Pakistan. And I did pick Pat to win this game as well, so I had absolutely nothing right this week in the Pick'em and the Lock. We'll start on my side of the board. Yeah, true total team performance here. Much like Ben, the lowest output my team has had all season long has been in the 80s. My team's been very consistent. Usually it's been by different guys stepping up each week. This time it was just everyone pretty much having a solid day. As said, Josh Allen wasn't in the best of conditions, but I trusted him to get the job done. He just about did. The second half really is where he got its points en route to that 26 points. Travis Kelce, again, he was having a real quiet day and then just blew up on one drive to get over the 100-yard mark. So solid by him. Terry McLaurin, another guy that was a really quiet day, and then on 2 catches, a deep bomb, and then the touchdown right after, making his day with that 13.7 points. He's been obviously a key part of my season. Joe Mixon as well, the 11 points there, had a goal line touchdown taken away by a holding penalty. So again, all yardage. Kenneth Walker, all yardage again, 10.5 points. All of my players seemingly had a slow first half because Walker was doing nothing before halftime, then came away with over 100 yards after the game. So he turned it on. Rashad White, same thing, did nothing all day and then caught a touchdown late on in that game to get me to 11.3 points. Graham Gano coming through big, the quicker streaming option. Obviously I had Tyler Bass, but I was not playing him in that weather game. Gano came through big time for me as well. And then the Denver Broncos. We're going to spend a minute on the Denver Broncos. What the fuck? What the fuck? Basically completely ruined Christmas Day for me. They were playing in the 9 o'clock game. I thought I had a slam dunk with them playing LA. And there we are. Every analyst everywhere thought this would be an absolute smash spot. The Broncos D has been one of the best defenses all season long. They got me a grand total of 1 point. They just got rolled. They weren't helped by Russell Wilson killing them early on. And they basically gave up, which to be honest, I can't really blame them for. But yeah, they made the Rams look like the 2007 New England Patriots. It did transpire after during the commentary of the game actually that the Broncos DC used to be the DC of the Rams when Sean McVay was there under Wade Phillips as well. And McVay's very familiar with that scheme. It's a 3-4 defense, so clearly he knew exactly how to take it down. Mayfield in his third week of being with the Rams, clearly he's got some understanding of the team now as well. So yeah, it was just a complete. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't have been surprised if the Broncos didn't smash this game, but to come away with 1 point, give up 51 points to the Baker Mayfield injury-ridden Rams is just embarrassing. And obviously it cost Nathaniel Hackett his job in hindsight as well. I had the Eagles D on my bench as well, which I wasn't going to play because they got 0 yardage and points. All of their 15 points, mainly from a touchdown, pick 6 touchdown, and then some sacks as well. I also had the Charge, but I picked them up after the Broncos had already played. That was just doing my roster shenanigans. You can see Tyler Algier with 12 points there as well, but it wouldn't have added much to the skill position. But yeah, just solid day for my team. Pat's team, I am ready. I mean, obviously I wanted to win this game and go to the final myself. I would have loved to see Pat in the final as well. He's been to the playoffs 3 times. Hasn't got a win. This was his 4th trip to the playoffs. Still searching for that first playoff win, and really it was within his grasp. Justin Jefferson just continuing his arguably MVP caliber season. 19 points. He was great for Pat. Ezekiel Elliott, he's had a touchdown in 9 straight games now with the Thursday night game that just happened this week. He's been solid for Pat all year long. Devontae Smith, though, I mean, talk about my team where players weren't doing much before halftime and then came out and kind of saved their day at the end. Devontae Smith was not doing a great deal until halftime of this game, and he ends it with over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just a terrific performance, playing with Gardner Minshew as well, obviously. I was so watching that game. I was like, come on, you got to be kidding me. This guy's feasting in the second half. Great day there for Pat. To be honest, I thought he had me going into the Monday night game after the Broncos crapped the bed, and Rashad White didn't do an awful lot on this Christmas Day either. I thought he had me because Pat had Devontae Adams in the what would have been the Saturday night game with the Raiders. The Raiders, they obviously came out started well. He only ended up with 1.5 points, just bitterly disappointing for Pat. Again, Adams has been a great guy for him all season long. He has had these intermittent games where he doesn't turn up too well. Unfortunately for Pat, cold weather Carr did come to roost. Carr played awfully in this game. The Raiders' offense didn't really get anything going. Obviously, clearly it's cost Derek Carr's job. That might be the last game he plays as a Raider as well, as they are benching him for the rest of the year. And Garrett Wilson as well. I kind of spoke about that one in the preview as we did that. I did the preview after the Thursday night game last week. I know Pat would go back and change that if he could. He did have some players on his bench, you can see there. I mean, obviously any player would have got more points than Garrett Wilson. No one would have changed the result on their own though, so I can't be too critical of Pat for that, because Wilson has been great. Even with Zach Wilson, he's still been putting in some numbers this year. But the weather was horrible in that game. Zach Wilson was even worse, and obviously Wilson just didn't come away with the points there. But the biggest kicker of all, this game was winnable. Entering, you can see the chart here, the Monday night game, Justin Herbert still to play. It was only, I think, a 27-point deficit for Pat. 26-point deficit for Pat entering that game. So only 3 times this whole season Justin Herbert would have got the required amount of points to beat me. His average points wouldn't have been enough. And yeah, in this game as well, obviously you just let Pat down again, just right when it mattered. They've not been world-beating offense this year for whatever reason. You can see by the scoreline, 20-3. The Chargers handily took care of the Colts. They just didn't really need to do too much, unfortunately for Pat, and the touchdowns went to Austin Eckler as well. So gutting end here for Pat. Obviously I did pick him as well. I did think he had me, to be quite honest. I was not confident about my team, and as I said, it was really some second half performances where a lot of my players got their points, which really did kind of save my bacon there. So Pat goes home, Gridiron Gang moves on, and that is it for the recaps, obviously. So that brings me to 63-48 all time with the pick'em, and Lock'em I drop on here for the first time in a while. 11-9 though, so still over 500 there. We will go to the league news now. So, for league news, key injuries, really nothing to speak of this week. Obviously, just speaking to mine and Ben's team, that there are some existing things going on, but nothing new. So that's what you like to see going into Championship week. Thankfully, as well, the weather is a lot better this weekend. I would not have liked to deal with the weather that we had last week, and that made everything tricky as well. And I could have decided some matchups, as I discussed on the debate corner last week. Transaction-wise, again, there's nothing notable, but we've had a very busy activity between myself and Ben. We are very much looking for wide receiver or tight end flex to field in the championship game. I added Drake London, Cortland Sutton, and Romeo Dobbs. Ben added Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James, and Tyler Higbee. None of our drops were particularly notable there. So yeah, obviously we're just trying to find something off the waiver wire to get in the championship game. We neither of us had any waiver money as well, which I didn't even realise just before I checked just before bed, because I was like, oh god, I wonder how many of these guys Ben's going to get, because I had no money. Obviously I spent it all in the season, but Ben had no money either. So and I think we only crossed over on one claim, which was Isaiah Hodgins, and I got all the guys that I wanted above that anyway. So yeah, so quite a few moves there. We'll come on to the rest of that in the previews, obviously. So we'll go to the standing stats and milestones. So obviously, yeah, with a few more teams exiting, would put a bow on the end of their seasons like we did at the end of regular season episode. We'll come back and do Bedetinator's end of season recap as well, as I didn't do that on the last episode either. Apologies, Ollie. So looking at the milestone standing and stats, only one notable milestone really, and that was Mike Taylor, unfortunately, a week after registering his first playoff win. Registers a playoff loss there. I don't know why there's not a loss in the column there, because I've not updated it, that's why. And in fact, let me just double check Pat's one then, because let's see, Pat has made the playoffs 5 times, sorry, so he is now... No, it's still 4 times, yeah, so Pat is 0-4. So I may have accidentally given someone a playoff loss there. I'll have to go back and check that later on. But yes, Pat is still 0-4 all time in the playoffs as well. Mike registers his first playoff loss. And I think that's it for the... No. Ben is now the all-time leader in postseason wins. You can see there he's got 7. We look at the all-time as well. So congratulations, Ben, with your win in the semi-final. You are now the standalone, going ahead of Ollie. And I don't know, is there an inactive coach? No, Ollie is the second place. So yeah, Ben is now the all-time playoff wins leader with 7, as well as you can see being the all-time career wins leader. The only one he doesn't have is the regular season wins, and he's only 2 games off that as well, so 1 for him to get next year. Really good going, considering he only joined in the second year of the league as well, so beating out all the founding teams there. We'll go to the season recaps now, so we'll start with Ollie, because he exited first, obviously, in the wildcard round. Good season by Ollie, 8-6, second highest scoring points in the league there. Looking at all-time record, you can see Ollie's gone 8-6 a few times. I think that is his 4th time going 8-6 overall. It is. So it's obviously a record I like to have. But it started off slowly. If we pivot over to here and look at his schedule, he had pretty much the worst 2 weeks possible you could have had to start the year. And in his 4th week of the season, he outscored what he did in the first and second game already. It was a really, really slow start, starting 0-2, but obviously Ollie turned on the Jets. He had a really good run, a really good run of 7-1 from weeks 3 to weeks 10. Obviously it tapered out a bit at the end. You can see he didn't cross over the 100-point mark for the rest of the season after that. But only picking up 1 win down the stretch as well, going 1-3 over the game over the regular season's final 4 games. But still, nothing to take away from that. A great season by Ollie. If we take a look at his team, where are we going here? It doesn't let me click on it there. It's really helpful. Finishing with the wildcard spot as well. It's good. He picked fan quarterbacks along the way. It's sometimes hard to find one good quarterback, but Ollie found 2 in Geno Smith and Justin Fields, wisely moving off of Russell Wilson, who we had coming out of the draft. Stashing DeAndre Hopkins on the suspension on the reserve spot. It was good, a great draft pick in hindsight. Obviously, he drafted CeeDee Lamb, Travis Etienne. Those 2 were kind of slow boners as well. Obviously, Dak went down quite early. James Robinson kind of came out of the gate for the Jags, but Ollie stuck to his guns, kept with him, and they paid off in the end. Derrick Henry as well, again, another guy that started off slow, but Ollie was considering trading him at one point, but he stuck with him, and it got handsomely rewarded. Chris Olave, another great draft pick there, who was really important to Ollie's team all season long. And then he obviously picked up a couple of guys as the season went on, Dante Foreman. As well, really, and Isaiah Pacheco really added to this team. So yeah, obviously disappointing for Ollie to leave in the wildcard round. Just didn't quite line up. He did have a terrific year, certainly after how it started as well. So well done to you, Ollie. We'll take a look at Mike's end of season next. So we'll pivot over to here. Mike had his best year. Though in terms of record, he went 10-4. The first time he's had double-digit wins in his career. His best record of his career. Second highest scoring team, interestingly. It wasn't the highest of scorers this season. We'll pivot on to here. You can see he did have low conceded points, but you can only play what's in front of you. He did have a pretty tough division as well. Obviously came on top of bare necessity, stealing the wildcard spot from my dad. In the coach ranking, I think he had a pretty okay, yeah, he's in the middle of the pack there, okay. Speaking of Ollie's team, he had more points on the bench as well there. Not surprising when you carry 2 quarterbacks. But yeah, no, good year overall by Mike. He'll obviously be happy with the season on balance. It's quite disappointing for him to obviously exit in the playoffs, but he does struggle against Ben. And it was really an injury that kind of cost him, as well as playing DeAndre Swift as well. If we take a look at Mike's team, he obviously took Tua Tagovailoa, probably the best Mr. Irrelevant we've ever had in the LOC. The injury issues were unfortunate. If he was healthy all year long for Mike probably would have had a good claim to be the regular season winner, potentially high scoring team, potentially advances further into the playoffs. But it just wasn't meant to be for Mike, unfortunately. He was carrying so many injured guys at one point of the year as well, but still came through with a 10-4 record despite that. Keenan Allen was a good draft pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown, great draft pick. He was a later on guy. Saquon Barkley as well, counting on a comeback for him, and he certainly did deliver. Josh Jacobs as well, another pick of the season there. DeAndre Swift. Mixed results, but he was good for Mike at times, certainly near the start of the year. He was a part of this team. Christian Watson, a good ad, so yeah, just unfortunate for Mike the season ended the way it did. And then finally for Pat, another good year for Pat as well. Obviously he got a division win, 7-2 record, which only the second time we've seen a team make the playoffs with a 7-7 record, but he turned it on near the end. He got hot when it mattered. If we take a look at Pat's team here, he really did have a good team, and obviously on the pod, myself and Chris really did like his team for quite a part of the season. It just wasn't clicking for whatever reason. Obviously Justin Herbert was playing without his top two receivers for large portions of the season. He was okay for him despite that. Obviously Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Ezekiel Elliott, great draft picks. Devontae Smith was a smashing draft pick as well. Cordero Patterson, he even got some good value out of him. He was quite a late pick. He made a couple of ads. He had Curtis Samuel and Garrett Wilson, who he added quite early on. They were key role players for this team as well. So a good year for Pat all in all. Obviously he would have liked to get that first playoff win, make his first appearance in the playoffs, but just sadly it wasn't meant to be for Pat. But good overall. So we will go to the award winners now. So we revealed the award nominees last week. The committee has discussed it and they have decided who will be the winners. So we start off with the Commissioner's Award. So this is my award to award, and this is for kind of off the field related things. So nominated for this one, I think we had Chris, obviously the league ombudsman and the podcast co-host, Tom, Locker, and the Power Rankings article author, Phil for being a team executive on Gridiron Gang, and Ross for the team names all year long. And it is Ross's award this year. He is the winner of the Commissioner's Award this year. I loved the team names this year. Video games was a great category from my point of view. I was loving some of the teams. Just picking out some of the teams that he's had. He had Fall Guy, haven't got the pictures, sorry. Fall Guy, Animal Crossing, that was a great one, as was Mariota Kart, Overcook, Cuphead. I know Ross really loved the Cuphead one and it was perfect, and obviously Ross had Cooper Cup as well. Perfect Dak, The Legend of Zuba, Pittsman and Max Effect. Just some great team names this year. Can't wait to see what he does next year. But you get an award for that this year, of course, Ross. For the LOC Award, we have the LOC Award going to Pat Tistan, so going to Coach Allen, Pat. And he went 7-7. Not the best of years, but got hot when it mattered. Definitely the best team in his division. He did have the softest division we've ever seen, though. Obviously the lowest wins coming out of a division we've ever seen. He did come on top of that. Only the second team ever, though, to make the playoffs by way of traditional playoff seedings with a 7-7 record. His breakdown, which I think is on here, was only just above 500 as well. Obviously, clearly some other teams above that that he made the playoffs over. It's the reason he gets the LOC Award. It's a unique position, being in the softest division we've ever seen. Only the second team ever to have a 7-7 record. If it was straight by record, he obviously wouldn't have made it either. So there was a hint of luck there, but Pat's team obviously did get good when it mattered. Next, we have the Overachiever Award, and for the Overachiever Award winner, we have Bucking the Trend. Mike's team was it was injured for a lot of the year. He did well to overcome that. He was carrying so many injured players, having to pick up, God knows who and play them. He still got to a 10-4 record despite that, though, in a tough division. Yes, the points were a bit low conceded. You can see in the breakdown he was only 7th in rankings as well, 84 and 70. But as I say, you can only play what's in front of you. Mike did a great job to get to a 10-4 record with the team that he did have, and he's still got a really good amount of points despite everything he had to deal with as well. So congrats, Mike. You definitely did have a great year and definitely maximised what you could have got out of that team, I think. Next, we have the Comeback Award. So this is for turning it around since a previous season or seasons, or for an in-season turnaround. And the winner of the Comeback Award this year is Bedetnators, Ollie Bedet. Congrats, Ollie. He had a 5-9 record last year, so he was coming off a poor year. That continued obviously into the start of the year, as we said as well. Had an extremely slow start to the season with those low points, but then really turned it on. If the league had started 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, he'd have been the highest scoring team, no doubt. You can see all of the 100-point performances there. I think he had the weekly highest score in the season at 152 there against me in week 8. He was the hottest team at one point in the middle of the season. Obviously, it did peter away a bit, but he still made the playoffs by way of the highest points forward wildcard. Obviously, unfortunately, exited in the wildcard bowl. But yeah, he really, it was a, we've never seen a team come back from that position to be as good as Ollie was. Just a terrific turnaround. Obviously, an improvement on last year. So yeah, firmly worthy of the Comeback Award there. Next, we have the General Manager of the Year award, and I did not choose to give it to myself. The committee decided to award it to me this year. I think I had a pretty good year of GMing. Chris obviously said a couple of times on the pod about an individual team in a given week. If we start off with my team coming out of the draft, obviously I took Josh Allen in the 3rd round, Travis Kelce, Joe Mixon, and Terry McLaurin. I really did nail that top 4 picks of the draft. After that, I didn't get a great deal. I had Alan Lazard for a large portion of the season, which did help my team along the way. I had Melvin Gordon, who was one of the 3 trades that I conducted this year. I got $30 out of him, which was a good return. I had Michael Thomas, who started really well, but obviously unfortunately had that injury, which ended his season quite early. Darren Waller as well, he was banged up. I never really got anything out of him, but again, I managed to trade him for $10. I also traded Robert Woods for $20 as well. So I conducted 3 trades overall in the year. Obviously getting some much needed waiver funds because I was very busy, as I usually am, on the older transactions there. I made the most moves out of anyone so far, 69 moves throughout the season, with that's higher than pretty much everyone else. Obviously Chris in second there with 59, and the next closest off that I think is Pat with the Ollie with the 43. So I do like to make a lot of moves, but I made a lot of key ones this year along the way. Just look at starting right at the start of the season. We can look at my team ads here. I picked up Brian Robinson, who has obviously been a great addition to my team, making the most of that waiver spot. I got him on the cheap as well. Sorry, I've not filtered this to ads only. There were some guys that I had to let go, like Pacheco, who I just couldn't hang on to. He obviously came good in the end as well. Let's go back to the start of the season here. There was a few of those guys. But yeah, picking up Brian Robinson. Who else did I have that paid some dividends for me? Let's take a look here. I can't remember even a lot of these guys that I picked up, literally. Jamal Williams, again, another guy that I picked up. Didn't keep hold of him long enough, though. He obviously had a good season there for Ollie Gardner. Kenneth Walker, he was the big spend that I made, though. $113, the most anyone has ever spent on a waiver claim. I'd spent the most amount on waiver moves this season, and he's obviously been a great player for my team there. Picking up Jimmy Garoppolo for a week, he obviously got me a win on Josh Allen's bye week. Who else? Played Taysom Hill for a week in a bind. He did well for me that week. Josh Palmer again, he had a couple of good starts for me. Samaje Perine, obviously I added at one point when Joe Mixon got injured, and he was really good for me in that span as well. Had to make sure I got him. Rashad White, who I got free. He made some good games for me. Donovan Peoples-Jones as well. He played a couple of games for me and did quite well there as well. Anybody else that I added? Obviously, I got Darren Waller back after trading him away. That was good for me too. I sadly didn't play a game for me in the end, but it was helpful. Adam Thielen was a guy that I picked up and had to play there in a given week, and he came through for me that week as well. And then some other guys obviously going into the playoffs, which we'll come on to in a bit. So all of that. Anything else that I noted down? Obviously, I was the highest scoring team. I had the most among the most points on the bench as well. All in all, just a really deep team. Lots of points on the team overall. Yeah, that's it. So the next award then is obviously the biggie. It's Coach of the Year award, and it's probably quite predictable where this award is going to this year. This award is going to Ben this year. Ben has had a terrific season. If we go back here, he was the regular season winner with here it is. With 11-3 record. I don't know, was 11-3 Ben's best record ever? Let's take a look here. Ixan, yeah, 11-3. It's a career best for Ben. So really good year. Scored lots of points. He was third in scoring. Came out of the gate quite early with some good points. Let's take a look at Ben's team here. It really had just a good solid team that he kind of backed on all season long. He didn't make a great deal of waiver moves. I think obviously Jerick McKinnon more lately he picked up and used. So yeah, I don't have the draft, but yeah, Mahomes, Cooper, Connor, McCaffrey, Gibson, Lockett, Debo, all guys he drafted, guys he's leaned on all season long. Obviously, some got a bit injured along the way, but Ben's team overcame that. Like my team, as I said earlier, Rocksolid for the lowest Ben scored was in the 80 points region the whole season long. So he's just been absolutely the model of consistency. You can see there all season long, loads of 100-point games and thereabout. Just a terrific year overall. He was good at the selection as well. Didn't have a great deal of depth necessarily, but second in the coach ranking, so among the best this year in optimizing the team. He was also the second in the breakdown metric, falling just one win short of the 100 win mark on the breakdown for the whole year. Only second to me as well. He obviously had the tough division as well. The Southampton division was the most competitive, but he still came on top of the pile of that. Only really started picking up the losses near the end of the season. He was undefeated for a long portion of the season as well. So, yeah, real congrats to you, Ben. Certainly deserving of the Coach of the Year award this year. So we will go to Debate Corner now. John is just getting his preparations ready for his New Year's party, but he can part for a second to usher us into Debate Corner. Couldn't you, John, please?
Order.
Thank you, John. And for this week's Debate Corner, it's a bit more of a light-hearted one, I'll be honest. But we have just had the awards season in the LOC awarding those out. There is one more award that does exist. It's the Ross Nunn Comedy Award for Comedy. We do not see this award nominated every year. I do not know where the trophy is for it presently. And the debate corner is, will the Ross Nunn Comedy Award for Comedy be awarded this year? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to mention it to Ross at New Year, so it probably will be. Will it be going to Ross? Probably also, because the team names were brilliant. I can't think of anything more comedic really this season. So, will we see the Ross Nunn Comedy Award for Comedy? I'm going to say yes. I think Ross does have the trophy as well at the moment, so probably will stay in the Nunn household. So, like I said, a nice light-hearted one. But the best of this podcast is about to come, because we are about to step into the Corona Bowl 14 preview, the Week 17. We will also look at the third place game. We do recognise the third place result. Obviously, if you're having fun in the consolation bracket, that's great. Doesn't count for official standings, but you can obviously still play if you want to. But yeah, we'll start off with Pakistan versus Bucking the Trend. Obviously, unfortunate for both these teams not to make it through the semi-final, but they can still battle it out for third place. So here we go. Pakistan against Bucking the Trend in the third place playoff for the LOC season. Both these teams unfortunately getting knocked out in the playoffs last week. but they can still play for something. Well, they might not be playing for much, or Mike certainly isn't, because he's still got Tour in his lineup. So he is unchanged. He got 10 points from Brett Maher on Thursday Night Football. So he's still rocking the 30 personnel, 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers. On the other side of the board for Pakistan, I believe he is unchanged as well. Yep, so he's still rocking the 10 personnel. 1 running back and 4 wide receivers. Got 9.7 from Zeke on Thursday Night Football there as well. The history of this matchup all time. Let's see here. Bucking the trend is 1-4 all time against Pakistan. And if we take a look at when these two played each other previously, they would have met once this season. Let's see here. Bucking the trend, there you are, and Pat took this one in a pretty low score of 68-51. Projections currently have it going Pat's way, 87-75. So yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this game because it's clear both these guys haven't looked at their teams yet. I don't know if either of them will, but for me, it's probably I'm going to assume that they're not going to look at their team, so it's going to be Pat. I would very much think, because Mike's obviously still playing Tua Tagovailoa. Looking at Pat's side of the board, Justin Herbert should have a better day than he did last week. Might not blow up, but should have an okay score. Adams, tricky one there because Jarrett Stidham's playing. The Niners are a good D as well. You think they're probably going to do their best to take away Adams. Justin Jefferson, though, he could have a great day. He blew up in week 1 against Green Bay. There's been some smack talk by Jerry Alexander of the Packers saying that was a bit of a fluke, so I'm sure he won't like that at all, so he'll probably come out to prove a point. Obviously, Elliott already got 10 points, as I said earlier, 9th consecutive game with a touchdown, so 10 points solid there. Devontae Smith, he could have a great day against New Orleans there. Garrett Wilson should have a better day. Mike White is back. That's going to be a boon. The weather isn't going to be awful, so he could have a good day there as well. And then Koo should be solid this week. In the Browns against Washington, it's Carson Wentz. You never know. I don't love it, but yeah, Pat should be on course for a good score there. Over to Mike's team. Yeah, Tua Tagovailoa needs to get him out of his lineup. He's obviously been ruled out with that 3rd concussion off the season. Keenan Allen, he could have a solid day. I think Mike Williams will be tied up with Jalen Ramsey, so he could be the beneficiary there. And that obviously offsets to a degree whatever Justin Herbert does. Amon-Ra St. Brown, that could be a points fest, that Chicago Lions game, so he should have a good day. Barkley against Indy. They got chewed up on the ground by Austin Eckler last week. That's probably all the Giants are going to do. They shouldn't have to do a great deal in this game to beat the Nick Foles-led Colts, so it's probably going to be a lot of Barkley in this one. He should have a nice day. Josh Jacobs should have a floor in theory. It's a really, really tough matchup. The hardest matchup you can have. No running back has rushed for more than 60 yards against the Niners all season long. And they're obviously playing Jarrett Stidham, so they're probably going to be stacking the box and trying to force him to beat them. So, as I say, he's probably going to have a floor game, but almost no chance he blows up, I think, in this one. Obviously, DeAndre Swift as well. The Bears do suck against the run. It could be a points fest, so he could have a decent day here. Brett Maher getting them off the mark quite nicely with the 10 points. And then the Buccaneers against Carolina could be quite a good matchup as well. If Mike changes quarterback, I think I would actually go with Mike's team here. There is just, I think, a little bit more to like. But as it stands, I will go for Pat Stan's team. Injury-wise, Goodwin is doubtful. Washington is truly questionable with a hip injury. He only practiced in a limited fashion on Friday. So his stats will go down to the wire. Clean bill of health for Pat's team, though. So, yeah, I'm going with the older Pat if Tua doesn't play as my pick of the week there. But that's it. We're not going to spend any more time on this game because we know where the important game is. It's Corona Bowl 14, the logo you can see on your screen there if you're watching the YouTube version. Gridiron Gang against Ixan. Here we go. Gridiron Gang take on Ixan in Corona Bowl 14, the first time these two have met in a Corona Bowl. It is the first seed against the second seed, the regular season winning Ixan against the highest scoring team of the year, Gridiron Gang. Neither of these teams have scored less than 80 points all season long, so it should be a good game. Ben making his 5th Corona Bowl appearance with that win last week, getting him into the playoffs. Not only the playoff wins leader, but now the all-time appearance leader in the Corona Bowl. Obviously making his 3rd appearance in the last 4 years. It's been that's a record among active coaches. It's been a good run for Ben. The only other one to do better than that was Nige, where he appeared in 3 straight between Corona Bowl 7 and 9. With a loss, Ben would extend his record Corona Bowl losses from 3 to 4. He is already the record holder for Corona Bowl losses. But obviously, yeah, he could potentially win a second here. We'll come back to that in a second. I'm making my first Corona Bowl appearance since 2011. That is the longest gap ever between Corona Bowl appearances. If I win it, it will be the longest gap between Corona Bowl wins. I've already owned the longest gap between playoff wins after getting my win last week, my first since 2011. We are obviously both looking for our second title. We are guaranteed a multi-title winner this year. But Ben would be the first non-founding team to win 2 titles. The only 3 that have done it so far, are Ollie, Tom, and Chris. All of those were founding teams, so Ben has a bit of extra edge there. You can see the projections here are currently in my favour. Neither of us have had a play yet. 92 to 86 in my favour. I think the projections are a little harsh on Ben. You can't see them here, but Jeremy McKinnon's only projected for about 4-something points, which seems quite low to me. Looking down my lineup though, quite a bit of change in my team. We have Drake London, Tyler Algier, and Brian Robinson coming in for my team over Terry McLaurin, who goes to the bench. Kenneth Walker goes to the bench, and Rashad White has obviously been dropped from the team as well. So I'm fielding the 31 personnel this week. 3 running backs, 1 tight end, and 1 wide receiver. On the other side of the board for Ben, there's been a bit of a shift. Actually, no, it's not been a great shift in his team. Sorry. The only change, I believe, is bringing Tyler Higbee in over... who did he play last week? I have a feel the guy who played last week isn't on the team anymore. Let me just ping back to week 16. Apologies, folks. Let's see here. In week 16, Ben played KJ Osborne. Yes, that's why. Yeah, so he's dropped KJ Osborne. Currently playing Tyler Higbee. However, I would expect Tyler Lockett to be in his lineup. They're both in the 9 p.m. games. So the projection will obviously be boosted by that. And as I say, McKinnon's got a fairly low projection as well. So I think Ben will be projected to win this game in reality. So Ben is fielding the 31 personnel with that 1 change this week. Also 3 running backs, 1 tight end, and 1 wide receiver. The history of this matchup all time, Ben historically owns me. He is 15-5 against me all time, so Ben will be feeling confident with that coming into the game. As I said, 2 of the highest floor teams that we've seen this season. And it's quite an interesting matchup because it's really a case of experienced veterans against a lot of youth. You look at Ben's team, Amari Cooper, Tyler Higbee, Jarrett McKinnon, James Conner, and Chris McCaffrey. They've all been around for quite a bit in the league now between them. Whereas you look on my side of the board, I'm currently playing 3 rookies in Drake London, Tyler Algier, and Brian Robinson. And I haven't quite made my mind up if I'm going to play Mixon or Walker yet. I'm definitely playing Algier and Robinson. So I could potentially be featuring 4 rookies to go with Kelsey and Josh Allen there as well. If we start on my side of the board, so yeah, Josh Allen, you saw on the chart there if you're watching live, but I'm projected to get a Monday night comeback victory at the moment, as I've got Josh Allen and obviously Joe Mixon playing in that Monday night game. That could be a points fest, that game. The Bengals have been pretty good against the pass this year, but obviously they haven't faced many quarterbacks as good as Josh Allen. The secondary isn't quite as strong as it was. They've lost Chidobe Awuzie over a month ago, I think, now. And they're fairly strong against the run, so the weather should be good in this one. So if the Bills are going to score points and going to win, it's probably going to be on the arm and legs of Josh Allen. So I like that. Travis Kelce against Denver didn't do too much in their first meet. You think he only got 71 yards. We don't know what type of Denver defense we're going to see. Obviously, last week on Christmas Day, they'd just completely given up, basically got absolutely torn apart by Baker Mayfield. So heaven knows what Patrick Mahomes is going to do to them and Travis Kelce. Obviously, Ben's got Patrick Mahomes on the other side. So they are quite a diverse offense. So no guarantees that Kelce offsets a bit, of what Mahomes does. But, whatever touchdowns he does get, that kind of nets it off for Ben. Elsewhere, so Drake London, he's had a pretty good last few weeks. He's seen basically double-digit targets every week since Kyle Pitts went down. Obviously, Desmond Ridder's come in. Has been a minor upgrade maybe in the passing game on Marcus Mariota, but they're still not great. I'm not entirely in love with the play. My thinking is starting Algier as well, who has taken over the lead back role for the Falcons. They're a very run-heavy team. Their run blocking is pretty good. Arizona suck on defense, particularly against the run. And obviously, you may have seen injury-wise, they're playing David Blau this week as Colt McCoy's out. They might be without DeAndre Hopkins. So this profiles to be a good game script for the Falcons. Typically not a very high-scoring offense, though, so I'm kind of counting on the yards and with a chance of maybe the touchdowns that do go in. And it's quite a concentrated offense, though, so I'm hoping that if the touchdowns do go in, it will be Algier and Drake London that get them. But peek behind the curtain again, if Christian Watson does not play, I will be firing up Romeo Doubs and not looking back, because the Vikings have been the best matchup for receivers all year long. They're very bad, especially against boundary receivers, which is where Dobbs will play if Watson does not play. So he will definitely be going into my lineup there. Joe Mixon, he's obviously playing Buffalo in that Monday night game as well. I'm on the fence with Joe Mixon and Kenneth Walker as well. Walker's obviously a better bet to get more volume. Mixon, though, it's a slightly better matchup. Again, it could be a high-scoring game, so he's got the chance of getting a touchdown or two. He hasn't scored, though, since his 5-week blow-up all the way back in Week 9. Obviously, he had an injury between that time as well, so that's part of the reason. But he should still have at least, hopefully, a fairly good floor game for me, if nothing else. Already mentioned about Algier. Brian Robinson as well. The reason Algier and Robinson are locks for me are just the workload and the matchup. No Antonio Gibson this week, who is obviously on Ben's team. He's been ruled out with knee and foot injuries. So he's the only healthy back there at the moment. He's not likely to pick up much in the passing game, which is a lot of what Gibson was doing, certainly recently, but it obviously solidifies his role, hopefully around the goal line and things. Again, the Browns are one of these defenses that are really bad against the run. Washington, they don't want to throw the ball with Carson Wentz and Tyler Heineke. Wentz is starting this week, so Robinson figures to be involved quite a lot. And again, hopefully a fairly good amount of yardage with a fairly good shot at a touchdown is what I'm thinking as well. Graham Gano against Indy. I haven't fully settled on my kicker yet, but obviously Gano did good for me last week. This profiles to be a good game script for the Giants. That they should have, their defense should be able to stop Indianapolis quite handily, and I think they should be able to move the ball enough on Indianapolis to get Graham Gano in some scoring positions. And then the Eagles D against New Orleans. New Orleans have been one of the most generous teams to defenses in terms of points all season long with Andy Dalton. They're down a couple of guards, I think, on the offensive line. And the Eagles D has been one of the best defenses all year long, leading in sacks. They're leaders in so many categories. It's just a good defense, so that's a good spot for them as well. On the other side of the board for Ixan, obviously Mahomes is playing. Through the season, the pass defense has been Denver's strength. Mahomes, I think he scored 27 points in their last meeting about a month ago, and that was in Mile High. So he's going to have a solid day. It's Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't matter if they're good against the pass. It's Patrick Mahomes. If they've given up as well, he could absolutely feast in this one. Amari Cooper, he showed a bit more chemistry last week with Deshaun Watson in a horrendous weather game. So that 7 points is pretty good. So obviously Amari Cooper's been a large part of the reason why Ben is in the final here. He's been a really good player from a really good draft pick all season long. Can he do it against Washington? We'll see. He figures to get most of the targets. It's harder to run against Washington than it is to pass, so maybe it does profile as a more pass-happy game. You do have the home-road split thing with Amari Cooper, where he do really good at home, struggled away, but that was with Jacoby Brissett, so we don't know if that's going to hold up here. They are playing away against Washington this week, but he still figures to be a solid play for Ben. Tyler Higbee at the moment, as I said, would not surprise me at all to see Ben put in Tyler Lockett in this game. If he's playing, coming back from that broken bone in his hand, he's too good a player to not play, I think, and he could have a decent day despite the tough matchup. The Jets pass D is legit, but they struggle against slot receivers the most, and that is predominantly where Tyler Lockett does play. If he plays Tyler Higbee, though, he obviously had that blow-up spot on Christmas Day. His average depth of target is ridiculously low. It's something like 3 yards. It might even be a bit less than that. Basically at the line of scrimmage, almost like a running back type thing, which means easy completions, and then it's all yards after catch. Can they do that against the Chargers? I think the Chargers will be a bit better than Denver was last week, so we'll see. But I completely see why Ben is playing Higbee here, and obviously he's got the couple of Giants receivers he could pivot to as well. Indy's a fairly good passing defense, but the slot is where they struggle, which is where Richie James plays, so Ben could have a good go of it there. He's got Jarrett McKinnon here. Like I said, the weakness of this Denver defense is the run game, so he could be involved both running the ball and out of the backfield. Obviously, there's a good shot of a touchdown as well. He's been really great for Ben. For the Chiefs and for Ben for about the last month. Potential to double dip. Obviously, with Patrick Mahomes, he's more likely to get a receiving touchdown than a running one. So he prefers to have a good game. James Conner, he's going to be the bell cow against Atlanta. Atlanta not the best run defense. Without Colt McCoy playing David Blau, potentially without DeAndre Hopkins. You wonder if Atlanta maybe are going to try and stack the box and force David Blau to beat them. I don't think it's going to matter though, because that was no different to Trace McSorley playing for them against the Bucs last week, because James Conner still got 18 points in that game. So he should be a fine play for Ben this week. Christian McCaffrey as well. Raiders' run D has improved over the last month or two of the season, but again against this Niners team, it's not going to matter because they're so good running the ball. McCaffrey's obviously so talented. The Raiders are starting Jared Stidham, so they figure to not really compete in this game. The one worry I would say for Ben with McCaffrey is if they get big early, they may rest him. They have shown that they want to lighten his load when they can. Obviously, keep him fresh in the playoffs, make sure he doesn't suffer an injury. Obviously, he could score points en route to doing that, which is what Ben will be hoping, because I would imagine they would start to turn to the younger backs later on in this game, with the game probably sewn up there. Then he's got Justin Tucker and the Ravens D against Pittsburgh. Justin Tucker is obviously one of the best, if not the best kicker in the NFL, potentially the best kicker the NFL has ever seen. He should have a solid day despite playing with Tyler Huntley, a quarterback on the not great Ravens offense at the moment, and the Ravens D at home as well. They had about a 10-point performance, I think, against Pittsburgh in the first meeting of the two teams, and that was at the Steelers Stadium. Sorry, I can't remember the name. It's some sort of insurance company stadium. This one's at home though, so again they should have a fairly solid day, you would think there. So that's all the previews. Injury wise, Tyler Lockett, so he should play, I would think. He's going to be a game time decision though, effectively. Deebo Samuel's already been ruled out. He's returning from those knee and ankle injuries. As I said, Antonio Gibson ruled out as well with his knee sprain and foot injury. And then Mecole Hardman, he was going to come off of the IR this week at LOC, but he suffered an injury while practicing on Wednesday, so he won't return for this one. For my team, Courtland Sutton, he is questionable, I think, with a hamstring injury. In fact, he doesn't even have a designation, so he should be playing. Kenneth Walker, questionable with his ankle injury. He did practice twice on a limited basis this week, which was better than last week, and he still played last week, so he should play. And Tyler Higbee, he's questionable with an elbow injury, but I don't think he's in any danger of missing that game either. And that just leaves me the choice of who am I picking to win this game. I really don't want to pick a team, to be quite honest here. I just want to enjoy it. I think my team, some of the guys have the potential to blow up. The only spot I'm really not strong in is my fifth flex spot where I'm currently playing Drake London. Like I said, there's a couple of options I have there. I could play Courtland Sutton and go with potentially the game strip of them for playing behind. Terry McLaurin hasn't been good with Wentz. I really don't want to play him in a game where they figure to be running a lot as well. Like I say, I'm kind of hoping Watson doesn't play so we can fire up Dobbs, but even then, he's no guarantee to do well either. Both these teams have solid flaws. I'm going to go with Ben's team. It pains me to say it. Ben's team has shown a remarkable flaw all season long. I don't see that changing here. Guarantee for 80 points by hook or by crook, Ben's team. He just has steady point contributors, and he has players that also can blow up. Mine is a bit of a riskier play. Mixon doesn't always blow up. He can be a bit inconsistent. Could Allen have a bad day against Cincy potentially? Could Kelsey be a bit quiet against Denver for sure? Drake London could do nothing, or whoever player they could do nothing. I am quite hopeful about Algier and Robinson's games, but they play on fairly low scoring offenses, so could be a lot of empty yards. So we'll see. I'm going to go with Ben's team. He's had my number in the history. That typically doesn't lie, but in the playoffs, obviously, it's all to play for. Yeah, I'm going to go with Ben. It's going to be a great game, though. Best of luck to Ben, honestly. I'm just happy I made the final. It's obviously been a lean, long years for me since I last made the final. So I'm just enjoying this last week of the season. Whatever happens, I've enjoyed the process all this week and last week as well, despite the Broncos ruining Christmas for me. So, yeah, it should be a good game. So good luck to you, Ben. Let's hope it's a good one, not decided by injury or anything like that. And as I say, thankfully no weather to worry about this week as well, so that's what you want. And none of us have been affected, I think, by players potentially resting on teams either. That brings us to the end of the show. So obviously we'll be back with you with an episode maybe in the not too distant future, because we don't need to wait a whole week. We have no previews to do next week. It will just be the Corona Bowl and third place game recap to finish off the season. Obviously the co-host won't be here. He is now in Australia, so I hope you're having a fantastic time in Australia, Chris. As I say, I hope you all had a great Christmas as well. If you would like to watch the games at mine tomorrow on Sunday, you are more than welcome to do so. I may be out for the earlier portion of it, but if you want to come over, just let me know and I'll let you know for sure when I'll be in. I should definitely be in, at least at some point, if not for all of it. That just leaves us to end the show. So I hope you have a happy New Year's with whatever you've got planned. Stay safe, of course. Enjoy it. Good luck if you're still playing in the consolation matchups and everything. Oops, sorry, we got too keen on the outro music there. Yeah, best of luck in your matchups, unless you're playing me, of course. Goodbye, everybody.